EPZs were set up within special economic zones. Then national borders cooperation zones were set up in the border area to reap the benefits of border economy. So all these zones were set up, and there was complete expansion. I think there was huge expansion of these zones both ways, horizontally and vertically. And let me tell you, there are more than 3,000 zones in China. In 2002 and 3, there were more than 6,000 zones. But then the government intervened because many of these zones were illegal. They are not necessarily, again, there is a myth that all these zones are set up by the government because it's a government regulated economy. No. There are several zones. Government has only a few zones. There are several zones which are set up by the private sector. Some of these zones are set up by local government. Then provincial government. The central government has set up a few, but then state government, local government, municipal government, municipal level means local government, and then private zones. Private parties, they set up zones. So 2002-3, there were more than 6,000 zones. Then the government sat down to reduce the number. All the illegal zones were eliminated, and now the number is around 3,000. Each locality has several zones clustered together. That is what the whole strategy is. So this is the strategy of clustering of clusters. So this clustering of clusters actually was, the idea was to generate economies of scale. And this led to Chinese competitiveness. Of course, the quality is also very poor in some cases, but so far as exports are concerned, exports to certain directions, to certain source countries, there the quality is also very good, and now the attention is diverted to improving quality. But the cost is so low. In India, actually I have done various studies and I am interacted with the industry very frequently. There are several cases where industry people simply say, how can one produce such cheap steel? How can one produce such cheap batteries with such cheap pharmaceuticals? It is not possible. They tell me these are the details. This is the cost of this. This is the cost of this. Now you tell me there is a source. So somewhere there is a source, and that's what they have actually cashed on. I don't know. Okay, people say that they are dumping, and that's why I said that I would relate with this dumping. Okay, but then when you look at these strategies, you feel that yes, there is some strategic moves which they have played and which perhaps are paying them off. So this kind of clustering has actually improved. In fact, so much of FDI is coming because of that. When there is, there is a kind of FDI already in a country, a lot of FDI in a country, then this FDI acts as magnet. It attracts more investors. Okay. So these clusters have attracted a lot of FDI, and now they are attracting more because I said that this whole reinforces this strategy. Okay. Now then what they did was they made sure that these clusters, they augment local supply chain network. Let me just give one example to you, just to give you an idea of what they are doing. Now, there is a place called Qizhou in China. Now, this place is well known for its electronic products in the world. This cluster was set up. It was cluster. I am not talking about zone. This was an industrial cluster. This cluster was set up by the erstwhile government in 1968. Nothing much was done with the cluster. It was just producing some small items for the local population. Now, when this zone culture came in China, the Chinese government set up Economic and Technological Development Zone, ETDZ. Okay, 2 ETDZs were set up around this particular cluster. Now, what happened? ETDZs attracted foreign firms. The whole idea of them was to attract foreign firms. Now, when these foreign firms came, obviously they needed some parts, some components. Now, they approached the local firms for these components. they found that local technology was very poor and they were supplying the products of very poor quality. If they import that, the cost would be high because transport cost is there even if there is no raw material cost, there is no tariff on that. So what they did was, they shared their own technology with these local firms. Now these firms got the world-class technology, okay, and then what happened? They picked up and they got inserted in the value chain. Why? Because they become the supplier to foreign investors and they produce the product of high quality. Okay, so once they will share the technology, they started upgrading that technology by themselves because otherwise they would lose their space in the local value chain. So this is how the production network, this is how the supply chains were promoted by the government. Okay, they made sure that these are located in such a way that they generate demand for each other. And when they generate demand for each other, obviously they are upgrading. So this is the whole idea. China was the first country that experimented with this idea of using SEZs as okay, and this led to the expansion in these special economic zones. And now today, 60% of total exports of China takes place from special economic zones. They are the huge contributor to national income as well as employment. Not only that, they have also become mechanisms of promoting human capital because they are not paying taxes. Until now they were not paying taxes. Now of course they have to pay taxes. Okay, but then they were asked to invest in education in their region. They had to spend a part of their profits in the region in the development of education. So they also became a kind of instrument to promote capital, human capital. Now look at this. So this was about